Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
This morning we are talking about purpose. Who's going to start?
Oh my God, it's a big one, this one. It's a big one. And this one came to me only because because I personally feel like my purpose, I've been really thinking about my purpose in what I do in life, recently, because I feel like there's just been little shifts in what I'm feel that my purpose is, and I think part of what I want to really help women do, and what I've been helping women do, which I've been working with anyway naturally, although I've never kind of said that this is what I do, is helping people to figure out their purpose. And I think that this is something which we don't get taught at school, and it is something which should be taught right from the day dot. Because I wish someone had told me and just said to me, look, really figure out in life, what do you love? What is it that you love? And follow that, follow your heart. And I work with, as you know, with a lot of women at midlife, and there's changes going on, hormonal changes going on, and we're at a bit of a crossroads. And a lot of people, and myself included, was in this, kind of get to a point where it's like, is this it? Is this what life is about? I've kind of got the things I kind of wanted. I've kind of got, a decent job. I'm comfortable. I've got a home, or whatever it is you want. But they've still got this feeling of like, is this it? Surely there's more to life than this. And this is exactly what happened to me. And that feeling, I've since discovered, it is because of just lacking purpose, or your purpose may well have shifted. It's not saying that you might have had a purpose, because in my life, I was a teacher for, many years. And that really was a purpose, because I wanted to really help change the lives of children, and I was passionate about it. And, I had to get my skill set up to do that. But it definitely changed. And I did find myself going, what is it all about? And I think that it's a feeling of kind of like, that I need a direction in my life, and I think it gives your life meaning. It gives you a reason to be here. And I truly do believe that we are all on this earth in our human body with a mission. And some of us find that mission, and we should all be finding that mission. We should be listening to that mission. Your mission might just be to have children, have a lovely home, and that is your mission. Or it might be to go and, be Mother Teresa and change them, whatever it is. But I do believe that we all have a mission. And I think when we're feeling that dissatisfaction, it's because we're not in tune with whatever it is that we are here to do. So yeah, that's just like, there's so many directions we could go with this, but yeah, that's my take on why I wanted to talk about it. Because yes, I feel like I haven't been listening to my niggles. You've known that there've been niggles here in my change of purpose, but actually the most important thing is to know, I think, that we all have something within us which we're meant to be here, and to listen to it, and then it's about uncovering it and following it.
100%. I love what you just said, and this really is a big one, isn't it? And you're so right to say that we should have been taught to think about what our purpose is. And I think sometimes when people hear the word purpose, it kind of stresses them out, because they just think, oh God, I don't know what my purpose is. But I would always suggest just thinking about, and you said it earlier, what it is that you love, because we all have something that we love. We all have something, if we really, really, really ask ourselves and we're honest with ourselves, because a lot of the time I think we know what it is that we are sort of feeling called to do, or we were meant to do, or we would love to do, but we don't allow ourselves to think about it because we assume we can't do it. And I think that's part of the problem with purpose and finding your purpose. A lot of the time I think we are limiting ourselves because of the society that we live in, and we're taught, we're sort of conditioned to believe that we should be doing this and we should be doing that, and I couldn't possibly do that because nobody gets to do that. And I think that is part of the problem. So I would just start by asking yourself, what it is that you absolutely love to do, because it all starts, and even if you don't know what your specific purpose is, if you just start by following the feelings towards the things that you love doing, you will kind of be led. It's that whole thing of just the universe is going to give you little hints and little nudges, and if you start following the thing that you love, or just anything, just follow something that makes you feel good, that if you keep following that, then you're gonna kind of bump up against what it is that you're meant to be doing. And I heard somebody say, I've heard more than one person say this ages ago, and it's just one of the best things I've ever heard, which is that the opposite of depression isn't happiness, it's purpose. And I just think that is so huge. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Because when you really think about it, it's so true. The opposite of feeling down and feeling shit isn't necessarily happiness, it's purpose. Because when we're feeling low and when we're feeling depressed, it's because we don't feel like we have a direction, and we all need direction, which is why I sort of talk a lot about asking ourselves, what is it that we want to do? Where are you going? Like, where are you going? Because so often we're just kind of walking through life, doing what we're doing, sucking up whatever it is that whatever job we happen to have ended up in, or in whatever area of our life, and we're not really asking ourselves, where am I going? We're just kind of going through the motions and going through the days. But it's so incredibly important to ask ourselves, where am I going? What is it that I want? Because everybody needs direction. Everybody needs direction. That sense of, call it purpose, that sense of purpose, that sense of direction, call it what you want. But we all need that thing that we're kind of, that, like you said, that gives our lives meaning. Because without that, we're a bit sort of, we can get a bit stuck. So I really do think that if everyone's, anyone who's listening to this thinking, well, I really don't know what mine is, well, I would challenge you to ask yourself, what are the things that you're passionate about? Because I don't think there's anyone on this planet who isn't passionate about something, even if it seems crazy or ridiculous or too hard or too difficult or too big. We all have that thing. And like you say, we're all born with like a mission on our heart, like a calling. And we may not know what that is initially, but it is there when you look underneath all of this shite,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're not sure what your passion is, and I don't think I was for ages, it's just following your curiosity into something which just kind of grabs your attention, and then that will grow into an interest, and that will then grow into a passion, and then that eventually will grow into a purpose. Something just came to me, which I was about to say. What was it? Yeah, I think when you were saying about actually, if we're not going anywhere, I think a purpose gives us this opportunity to continue to grow. And I think and that is what kind of fulfills us, is we are beings which just want to continually grow and evolve. And when we're not growing and evolving, say, for example, you get stuck in a job which you can do standing on your head, it's almost like you become quite stagnant. There's nothing, there's nowhere to go. And then and it's almost like we're in our comfort zone. It's easy. As human beings, we want to stay, it's one of our basic needs, is that sort of certainty, that safety. It's that kind of, we've been kind of evolved to kind of want to feel that feeling of comfort. But the thing is, actually, also as human beings, we need this. We need to grow. We need to progress.
Yeah.
We'll be progressing. This is what we do. So
Yeah.
if you are stuck in that comfort zone and you become stagnant, you then start to tell yourself all these beliefs. Oh, I couldn't possibly change this because I'm not good enough, and all those limiting beliefs then to come in, and then you're kind of in that vicious cycle of never ever being able to move. But when you can step into that discomfort and move forward and start to grow, and this is where you and I have really kind of been, we've been on that trajectory recently. It can feel uncomfortable at times, but actually at the same time it feels so expansive, and it gives you that sense of fulfillment and meaning, and you're working towards something, and sometimes you don't even really know exactly what you're working towards. You kind of, and I think this is the thing, we, particularly this time of year, everyone's talking about like goals for next year and let's give ourselves some goals, and that is a good thing. But the thing with the difference with purpose is that I don't know if you ever achieve it. It's just it's a direction, it's a North Star. With a goal, you might set yourself, for example, a financial goal. When you achieve that financial goal, that moment of kind of achievement and success is kind of almost probably a fleeting moment of like, oh yes, great, well done. But then it's gone, and it's like, you often hear about people who set themselves particularly, financial goals of getting the car, getting the money, and actually it doesn't give them that sense of fulfillment if they're not living with purpose, because goals are just fleeting.
Completely. And it's so true, and that is the reason why there are people who seemingly have it all who are still not happy, because it's not about the car or the house or the clothes. It's not really. It might be about that for a moment, but that's not what we're fucking looking for. It's not what any of us are looking for underneath everything. We think, our ego wants the kind of nice things and to make the money and to, whatever it may be, go on the kind of amazing holiday or whatever. And of course those things can be amazing and lovely, but the point is that they are not what fulfills us deep down, not that higher part of ourselves. That higher part of ourselves, which, by the way, we all have, because we are all a combination, we're all that kind of duality between the soul and the human. And we have to kind of do that. This life really is about doing this dance between the soul part of ourselves and the human part of ourselves. But the soul part of ourselves, and that's the thing, the human side of us, our ego, we can bury it and suppress it as long as we want, but it won't work, because all of us somewhere underneath have that feeling and that need to fulfill some kind of purpose, some kind of direction, some kind of calling. And going back to sort of what you would actually do in order to find it, if you haven't got a clue, well, like you just said, follow your curiosity, because actually I so agree with that. It's, all of us have things that we're interested in. Even if you don't know what you're passionate about, what are you interested in? What lights you up? What just makes you want to learn more? And like you so rightly said, Polly, human beings are meant to evolve. We're meant to expand. We're meant to grow. We're not meant to stay the same. And I personally think that this is why there are so many people who aren't truly happy, because they are not evolving, they're not growing, they're staying the same. And there's that feeling of like, is this it? Like you were saying at the beginning, is this it? Is this enough? Well, no, it's not. It truly isn't. And the thing is that ultimately, any kind of growth, any kind of change is going to require some kind of discomfort, as you said, because to get to the good stuff on the other side of anything, it is basically the law that you have to feel uncomfortable. So much of what we talk about boils down to becoming comfortable with feeling discomfort. It is as simple as that. And while it's, potentially easier to spend our days sitting on the sofa when we get home from work every night, watching Netflix and going, oh, no, it's fine, I'm just going to sit here and, sort of take myself out of myself, you know, that might potentially be easier. But actually, if we want to get to where we really, really, truly want to get, we have to accept that we've got to go through some kind of growth. And growth is always uncomfortable because we haven't done it before. And so our ego tries to protect us, and our ego is going, no, 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 don't do that. Stay the same. No, 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 it's not safe. You know, it's unknown, because our ego wants us just to stay safe and stay the same. It doesn't want us to change. So it's up to us to kind of, you know, put the ego aside and sort of lay it down and go, no, 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 this is what I need to do. I've got to get uncomfortable, because like, you know, like you were saying, like I'm saying now, in order to get to the place where we really want to go, where our heart wants to go, we have no choice but to go through the uncomfortable stage. But actually, you have to look at it as, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're feeling those kinds of feelings, it means that it's a good sign. It's a good sign when you're feeling that, because it means that you're evolving. And even if we don't consciously know it, we all want to be evolving and growing and changing, because that is just the nature of who we are as human beings.
Yeah.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
And the thing to remember, though, is, you know, it doesn't mean that we've all got to be doing the most, you know, having our own businesses or changing the world. You know, your purpose might not be that. It might be something much, much more simple. It might be, you know, that you are going to be the most, you know, maybe you just love baking. And so it's, you know, you want to spend more time doing that and sharing your bakes with other people, you know, but it's about just really figuring out what that thing is for you. And I think the only way you can do that is just listen to that inner voice. We're so bloody good at numbing, quietening, dampening down those niggles, those urges, those nudges, those feelings that we all have. It's our intuition. We just don't trust those feelings. And we do in our everyday busy life. We numb it with social media, with TV, with alcohol, with whatever it is. But actually, when we take time to just get quiet, and we really can tune in and listen and just follow those nudges, you know, we've all have them. It's where you're being drawn. It's where your attention is being drawn to.
Yeah.
Go towards it and just try and do something, carve out some time to do that thing. So if it is like, oh God, I wish I had more time to make cakes, go and do that. If it's more that you want more time to, you know, listen and help other people, go and do that. It takes some focus, because it can literally be a fleeting thought, and then you kind of ignore it and you don't do anything about it, and then you just stagnate and stay happy with what, you know, with your everyday life, and you turn the TV on. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is to really get quiet, tune in, you know, find out what it is which excites you, which gives you these little butterflies in your stomach, and you're like, yes, I want to do that. And if what you are currently doing doesn't feel right, listen to that too, because sometimes actually it's almost easier to know, okay, something's not right, something doesn't feel right, it's off, I don't feel, so it's almost like, okay, well, that is a sign that perhaps your path needs to shift, and maybe it's only a few degrees. But often, to find your purpose, you might then need to kind of almost skill up in something else, because, you know, you do need to have an element of, you know, if you want to go and do. So for me, you know, it was coaching. So I needed to go and just kind of make sure I knew and understood what I was doing with coaching. Then it was breathwork, you know, and then it was kind of like skilling up on that. Quite often also a purpose might be from an experience that you've had in your own life, quite often maybe a painful experience. So that whole menopause thing for me came from me having my own negative experience of it, and then kind of going, what? No one else, I need to tell everybody about this and help them through it. So that often is a great way to kind of find purpose, if you're feeling revved up and fired up about something, and sharing that. Or it might just be, you know, from from past experiences in your life where you feel like, there's something that you've got to change, you've got to do.
Totally. And you're so right. It can so often be something that you have got through yourself and you have survived, or something that you've kind of like you say with you, it's kind of menopause and how you went through that, and then you're like, it can't just be me. And it was the same with me and being single and loving it and thinking, well, if I love being single and I'm really happy not having kids and just doing my thing, and there's all there are all of these amazing benefits and freedoms that nobody's talking about, and I just felt compelled to talk about it. So it can be something that, an experience, like you say, that you've gone through, but it's just I really believe that all of us have something, and if we don't think that we do, I think maybe, like you say, it's time to sort of just get really still. And even if you're thinking about, what did you used to love doing? What did you used to enjoy before life got in the way? Even as a kid or as a teenager, whatever it may be. And also, something just to add is that it's never too late to change. Like, I think it's, the world is changing in that regard, in as much as people do different things with their life, and it's not as if we're all in the same job for 30 years anymore, but I still think that there is a tendency to feel like we can't necessarily make a massive shift, and if we've been doing a job for 5 years, then we should stay and do it, and if we've invested this much time and all the rest of it. But I personally don't think, it doesn't matter if you've invested 15 years into a job and you have worked your way up the ladder and you have, got a management position and a whatever salary. It actually doesn't matter if that is not the thing for you. So don't feel that because you've invested time in something that it means you have to continue with it. I think this is a mistake that a lot of us make. It's the same in relationships. If we've invested time in a relationship, oh my God, but I've been with this guy for 10 years, and therefore, even though it feels so wrong and my body is telling me that I want to get the fuck out, but because I've invested 10 years of my life and I'm quote unquote not getting any younger, I should just, try and make it work. But no, I think we're wrong to continue with things just because we've invested time in them, if we know that they're not feeling right. It is okay to change. I mean, I've changed so many times in the last few years and gone from this to that to that, you have to, like,
I'm the queen of it.
But that's kind of part of the, it's like treating life like this sort of experiments. Like, we get to just experiment with things, get to just try things out. But I think there's a tendency for us to feel that, well, people are going to laugh at me if I try and change now. I'm 40 years old or whatever. I mean, I'm nearly 48 and I'm just getting freaking started. I'm 48 in 2 weeks today, actually, New Year's Day. And, it's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly doable. You can still make a change if you want, even if it seems as if the world around you is going, oh my God, what, you mean you're going to change career when you're, when you've been doing that job for 10 years and, it's got a great pension. What, are you crazy? That's what, so many people are likely to say. But I think we have to find the confidence within ourselves, and we have to, we need to learn to listen to our intuition. And if you're thinking, well, how do I know when it's my intuition talking or when it's fear talking or whatever? I think sometimes, our ego and our kind of thinking mind can be a bit more, a bit louder and more insistent. Whereas when it's our intuition talking, it's that kind of small voice that's just totally steady, but maybe a bit quieter and not so kind of angry and all the rest of it. And it's just that feeling in our gut going, what you've got to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And there's a comment here from Val. I love this, Val. She went, I went to college and did art, that all fell by the wayside to earn money elsewhere. 40 years later, I'm back at the Village Art Group and just loving it. I can and I will. I tell that. And the thing is with all of this is that I think so many of us believe that, okay, I've got a good salary, we need the money, I've got family, I've got responsibilities, I couldn't possibly leave that. I couldn't possibly go and do something else because this is all I know. And this is bringing in that stability, that safety, which again, we crave and we kind of need. And I think you and I both know this, that actually, you don't have to give up that job straight away.
Yeah.
It's not saying, right, pack everything in. You can actually use the extra pockets of time, the evenings, the weekends, to do that side hustle, to follow your passions, to skill up, to learn. When I had my tuition business and I was learning all about health and wellness and menopause, I did it all. And, I had so many books on the go. Weekends, I was reading, I was doing courses. And you can do that. It's just about following those passions. It's about maybe, okay, you might have to sacrifice, a couple of hours on the sofa watching TV or doing something else. But it's using, I would sit waiting for my kids to pick them up from football or whatever it is. I always have a book on the go. I'll be listening to a podcast. So it's totally possible. It's about really just giving yourself that gift of, right, yes, I'm just going to indulge in these curiosities and these interests, and just see where it may take you. And then, you can slowly, if you do want to turn it into a way of life, and I'm not saying that you have to turn it into a business or into a work. It doesn't have to be. It could just purely be, something which you love to do with your time. But if you do want to turn it into a business or work, then you can slowly kind of, try and, change the balance in what you're doing so that you've still got an income coming in at the same time, which is exactly what I did with my tuition business. And with this, I was doing a bit of both at one time.
Absolutely. It's 100%. And, we can all find the time to work on some kind of side hustle or project or passion or whatever you want to call it. Half an hour a day for the next year, see how much difference that makes. Or, even better, an hour a day. If you can find 1 hour a day, and anyone who says, I don't have the time, we do have the time, because it's about prioritizing the time and about prioritizing the time for the things that are actually going to serve us. So all of us, myself included, can find extra time for something that we really, really want to do, that we know is going to make a difference to our life, because we all know that we spend a good amount of time scrolling through Instagram, watching TV, or whatever it may be. There are ways that we can take back control over some of our time. And this is something that you and I have talked about before, but it is about prioritizing. And if I just always think of it in terms of a year is going to pass anyway. So how are you going to spend that? Are you going to find that half an hour just to focus on that thing that lights you up and see where it might go, even if you have no idea? And like you were saying, one of us was saying earlier, we don't need to know exactly where it's going, whether it will end up being a business or whether it'll end up being just something, a hobby or whatever it is. But the point is it's all about taking that first little step towards it, and then that second little step, and then that third little step. It really can just look like baby steps. It doesn't have to be any kind of grand, crazy plan from the beginning. It can just be, this is something that makes me feel excited. This is something that lights me up. This is something that piques my curiosity. Let me just go and have a read, or let me just go and do a little bit of research. We don't have to know any more than that. It's just about tuning into those things that bring us joy, because who can't find half an hour for that? And yes, we might have to sacrifice some time at the weekend or in the evenings to do that, but it's so worth it. And you and I can both attest to that. It's so worth it. Oh, we've got another comment. I was so sick of being made redundant 5 times. So I took a maternity cover job, and I'm starting a work side hustle, which I'll hopefully build up this next year to be freelance doing what I love. Awesome.
Love that.
I can't see the name of that person. It's gone up on my screen. Can I scroll down? Oh, Drea. Okay. Drea Hovison's okay.
Love that. And also I do think, it's worth mentioning that when talking about purpose, obviously it's for us and for our happiness and for our own fulfillment in life. But most often, I would say probably every single time when you're living from your purpose and you're doing your purpose, it is going to be of the benefit of others. And that really, I think, is the definition probably of purpose, is when you're actually impacting other people around you or the world around you, or you're making some kind of difference, however small that might be. You know, going back to my example of baking, you know, you're going to be making other people happy by giving them something lovely, or, you know, everything you're going to do is going to affect someone else, and that really makes us, you know, there's nothing better really than that. What did I hear someone say? That, you know, a billionaire, we should really rebrand a billionaire as, you know, not making £1 billion, but actually it's almost like if you're a billionaire if you can affect 1 billion lives. You know, it's really that, thinking of it like that is what gives us, that's what feeds our soul, that's what makes it feel so good.
Completely. And also when we're following the things that we love and that bring us joy, we subsequently feel better about ourselves, and when we feel better about ourselves, then we show up as a much better version of ourselves for all the people that we love. So actually, you know, don't think of it as, you know, being selfish or anything like that, because you spending time doing things that make you feel good is going to benefit all of the people that you love, because you are going to be happier, and you being happier can only benefit the people around you, because they're going to feel that. And so, yeah, it's 31 minutes past 9.
Good topic, this one. Actually, I could talk all day about this.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is huge, but but actually at the same time it's quite simple. Just follow your heart, follow what lights you up.
Exactly, follow what feels good. Completely.
Right.
Thank you.
Perfect.
A joy as always.
Yes, and thank you for those who have watched and commented, and yeah, it's so lovely to hear from you, you know, who, anyone listening or watching, what you're up to as well. So thank you.
All right, love. Well, I'll speak to you soon. So, oh, actually, next week, or we're not doing Monday, are we? Because it's Christmas Day a week today, so we're going to do Christmas Eve instead.
Yes,
Same time, Christmas Eve. Oh, Merry Christmas, Val. Same to you.
And to you. Yeah. So next Sunday it's going to be Motivation Sunday.
Yeah, and the same the following week, isn't it? We're going to do Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, so 2 Sundays in a row instead of those 2 Mondays, because it's New Christmas Day. Yeah, cool. All right. Speak to you later. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.